Split open. The camera captured an extraordinary scene. A bizarre shape emerged in...
O som foi gravado por dezenas de pessoas.
These strange
The sky is cracking open. Giant waves are swallowing cities whole. Strange lights are flashing everywhere. Early in 2026, is Earth screaming its final warning? When everything we thought was steady starts shaking all at once, the fear doesn't come from just one place anymore. It rushes in from every direction, fast and hard, not giving people any time to get ready. In just a short time, the oceans turn angry, cities catch fire, the sky changes color, weird lights tear through the darkness, and the ground and the air itself seem to lose control. Things that look like they're not connected keep happening one after another, piling up, covering many continents, making it feel like the world is being pushed quickly toward a point of no return. Do you think this is just a coincidence? Or is it a wake-up call that people have ignored for way too long? If you still have a little faith left in your heart, please leave a prayer in the comments below before we go deeper together into each moment that's so unbelievable, yet really happened out in the open, for real. Amen. And now, so you don't have to wait any longer, we'll jump right in with 1. The pitch-black monster wave out on the wild ocean swallowed up the whole coast of Sicily, Italy. A towering wall of inky black water slammed into the Sicily shore in Italy, wiping out everything in its path. In just a second, the familiar coastline was gone. The roaring scream of the ocean drowned out the warning sirens, and the panic spread so fast we barely had time to figure out what was happening. The first reports came pouring in. Pictures flew around like crazy, carrying a chilling message. The sea wasn't calm anymore. Sicily is usually known as a peaceful spot in the Mediterranean, where life moves with sunshine, breeze, and gentle waves. But this time the water turned dark, almost black, rising up like a giant wall far out at sea before crashing straight onto land. Scientists have recorded big waves in this area before, but the recent weird shifts in the Earth's magnetic field and strange space weather patterns have made experts rethink old ideas because this one was way bigger than normal. From the videos spreading fast and early numbers, the wave was estimated at nearly 100 feet high, moving at tremendous speed, sweeping away cars, houses, and anything in its way. According to CNN, experts called this one of the most dangerous rogue wave events recorded in the Mediterranean in recent times. Time-lapse footage shows the black water surging up like a flood from the deep, feeling just like a gate to hell had swung open. Local authorities in Sicily quickly sent out emergency warnings, telling people to stay away from the coast, move out of low-lying areas for now, and absolutely not go near the water. Amid all the dry facts and technical alerts, the Bible quietly came to mind in a haunting way. Genesis 7:11-12 says, "In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day, all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened, and rain fell upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights." The picture of water rising from the deep suddenly matched what we were seeing in a really scary way. Jesus also talked about those days in Matthew 24:37-39. "For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. They were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away." Those words don't spell out a final answer, but they're enough to plant a deep unease in people, like history might be repeating itself in a different form. Many scientists say this was a rogue wave caused by unusual weather and ocean conditions. But the way they kept coming and the unbelievable size make that explanation hard to accept fully. It doesn't ease the shared worry. When the sea suddenly turns furious and everything we trust feels so fragile, the feeling grows that this isn't just another natural disaster. So the wave in Sicily isn't simply a weather story anymore. It's become a powerful wake-up call, as if something bigger is starting. If the ocean has roared like this, the question doesn't need an answer right now. But the echo hangs there. Is this just the beginning of even larger changes ahead? 2. War on the streets of Marseille, France. Marseille suddenly fell into chaos out of nowhere. It's no longer just scattered news clips. The video shows a suffocating reality where city order breaks down in just minutes, leaving you with the feeling that the line between normal life and violence has been ripped apart. Marseille is normally a busy port city in France, where people and goods come together every day. But in the spreading footage, familiar avenues are covered in black smoke, shop windows are shattered, and flames burst from cars and restaurants alike. This scene doesn't stand alone. It reflects a wave of social unrest happening in many European cities, where global tensions make local conflicts worse and push crowds past the point of control. In the footage captured by CNN, cars burn fiercely at intersections, police lines move forward through tear gas, and protest groups face off hard. You see national leaders pop up here and there in the news, but the real focus of the video is the street itself, running on the rules of violence. No harsh commentary is needed here. The chaos speaks for itself. Official statements come out in calm, neutral tones, stressing that they're restoring order and keeping civilians safe. They use the term civil unrest to describe what's happening, like they're trying to put a clean label on it. Still, when you watch the full sequence of images, the sense of things being out of control is clear. Fires spread faster than the response, and the city space turns into a temporary battle line. Right in the middle of those scenes, the Bible comes in as a distant but loud warning. Matthew 24:6-7 says, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." This warning doesn't try to explain every detail. It puts the chaos into a bigger picture of growing conflicts. That warning gets even stronger in Revelation 6. For its writer was given power to take peace from the earth and to make people kill each other. To him was given a large sword. Once peace is taken away from public life, what's left is a chain reaction of fear and confrontation. Just exactly what the video lays bare. Some say this is just a local political and social problem. But when similar images show up in so many places, with the same rhythm of chaos, the idea that it's all random starts to feel shaky. What's being said here isn't a rushed conclusion. It's the recognition that social unrest is becoming a familiar sign of our time. So the video from Marseille doesn't just record one night of rioting. It sets a new level for how safe we feel in modern cities. When streets can turn into battlegrounds in a flash, peace starts to feel more fragile than ever. And hanging at the end of the frame is a question still without an answer. Where will this wave of chaos stop, or will it keep spreading to other cities? 3. A terrifying red sky like a hell on earth. Night falls, but the sky doesn't get dark. It turns this heavy orange-red, like the whole atmosphere is slowly burning right above us. That light doesn't feel like a pretty sunset. It makes you feel watched, covered by something way beyond the usual. When you look up at a sky like that, have you ever wondered, if this isn't just weather, what is it trying to tell us? This has been seen over huge areas, from states here in the US to several countries in Europe. Those days the wind shifts direction, light gets bent, the sky's colors look twisted and hard to name. The familiar world suddenly feels like somewhere else, where everything turns hazy, heavy, and full of unease. Seeing it happen in so many places at once makes the creepy feeling spread faster than those high-up winds ever could. When the sky goes that fiery orange-red, the sound of wind howling through buildings adds this dark, gloomy background. A lot of folks say it feels like standing right at the edge of something huge, where nature's order is stretched to the breaking point. No explosions, no physical crash, but the mental pressure is real, like the whole world is holding its breath, waiting for what's next. Joel 2:30-31 talked about signs in the sky and on the earth. And then the Bible words come, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, columns of smoke. The sun will turn dark, the moon will turn blood red, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. Put those words next to a blazing red sky, and the connection is hard to ignore, like an ancient piece just clicked back into place. Revelation 6:12 paints an even stronger picture. When the Lamb opened the sixth seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth, and the whole moon became like blood. Those descriptions aren't about one specific spot. They show an atmosphere of a certain moment where nature mirrors something way outside the normal cycle. Scientists explain it with atmospheric scattering, smoke from huge wildfires, or solar storms changing how light passes through the air. NASA reports have mentioned solar storms that can alter sky colors over wide areas. On one side, you've got equations, data, and climate models. On the other, prophetic words that have been around for thousands of years. When you set those two views side by side, which one do you lean toward? Or do you think both are happening together? One thing's for sure. The feeling that red sky leaves behind isn't neutral at all. It wakes up fear, curiosity, and deep questions about what it all really means. Faith sees a reminder in it. Science sees a chain of causes. But both agree, this isn't an image you easily forget. If that red is just the beginning, what happens when the sky turns even darker? And as the light up there keeps changing, what message will humanity finally read from it? 4. The sky cracked open in Utah and Ohio, USA. A sudden bright light ripped through the sky like a giant sheet of glass, shattering right in front of you. A fiery streak appeared, stretched out, then branched off, with a deep, rumbling roar echoing from above that made the air feel thick and hard to breathe. It didn't feel like watching some ordinary thing in the sky. It felt more like standing on the thin line between order and total chaos. If you saw that moment, what would be the first thought that popped into your head? Utah and Ohio are so different. One's wide open desert, the other's crowded neighborhoods. Yet the pictures and videos from both places look strangely alike in a way that's hard to explain. Up high, the light formed sharp cracks, like a stretched net suddenly showing itself for a second. Everything happened fast and intense, long enough to scare you, but quick enough that the sky closed back up, leaving just silence and a bunch of unanswered questions. Videos spread like wildfire online, with people slowing them down to study every little detail. Some say it was pieces of a meteor breaking up in the atmosphere. Others talk about high-altitude electrical currents stirred up by solar activity. Still, that deep roar coming down and the feeling of the sky actually tearing open make a lot of folks think those explanations don't quite get to the heart of it. Luke 21:25-26 comes up a lot in talks about this, and it's pretty haunting in this moment. The verse says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. People will faint from terror, apprehensive of what is coming on the world, for the heavenly bodies will be shaken." When you put those cracking sky images next to these words, a lot of people start connecting what they just saw to warnings that have been around for a very long time. Online, folks quickly split into different camps. One side says it's just a rare light phenomenon, something scientists who study the atmosphere and stars already know about. The other side points out that this grid-like light pattern and the shaking feeling spreading out haven't really been recorded like this before. The debates keep going, showing how uneasy everybody feels about things we can't control. Isaiah 34:4 opens up another layer of thought, with the words, "All the starry host of heaven will be dissolved. The sky will be rolled up like a scroll. All the starry host will fall like withered leaves from the vine, like shriveled figs from the fig tree." For many, that torn open sky looks a whole lot like a page in a book being flipped hard, showing something we're not quite ready to fully understand yet. Science will probably keep coming up with more data and ideas to explain what happened, but the feeling of watching the sky crack like that, it sticks with you, heavy and hard to shake. If those cracks only showed up for a moment, where do they lead? And what's waiting on the other side of that sky that just closed again? 5. Unexplainable light clusters in Lyon, France. Faint green lights hung quietly behind the low clouds. They weren't blinding, but they just stayed there, steady, like some invisible breathing spreading across the sky. The scary feeling didn't come from noise or fast movement. It came from the long silence that made your mind drift to things beyond what we can understand. Those light clusters didn't shoot away or fade right off. They kept a soft, even glow for hours. We looked up and wondered what could make the sky pulse like a living thing, while the city below stayed awake with a quiet unease. No emergency alerts, no quick explanations, just videos catching that pale green light reflecting off old rooftops. Some atmospheric experts later suggested it might be tied to solar radiation hitting the upper atmosphere, causing a rare glowing effect. Others talked about electromagnetic interference or strange interactions between clouds and energy flows in the air. Still, those ideas left a lot of questions open because the lights seemed to just hang still, without the usual traits of planes or satellites. Acts 2:19 often comes up as a key to understanding it. The meaning gets brought back like this. Up above, strange signs appear that make people stop and think, while down on the earth, upheavals wake up deep fears. When you put those words next to the Lyon sky that night, a lot of folks felt a connection too strong to ignore. On the other side, science keeps stressing there's no proof yet of anything supernatural stepping in directly. Researchers are calling for more data, measuring light spectra, tracking solar activity, to get clearer answers. The contrast between the two views leaves a quiet space where faith and reason both sit, neither one fully taking over. Revelation 16:18 gets seen as another layer of meaning, with its picture of flashes, rumblings, and great shakings, signaling a serious moment. When people interpret it that way, many believe these light clusters aren't just a physical thing. They're a reminder of how fragile our world really is. The faith it stirs up doesn't come from pure fear, but from a sense of waking up to something much bigger than us. Whether we name this phenomenon with science words or faith words, that green light left a deep mark in our shared memory. The pulsing on the Lyon sky may have stopped, but the question still hangs there. If the sky is really sending out a heartbeat, is humanity ready to listen and answer? 6. Mysterious skylights in Arizona, United States. The night in Arizona started out real calm. The desert sky stretched out wide and quiet, like always, with just a soft breeze drifting over the cool sand. The first light appeared faintly, nothing scary, more like a slow, steady flash hanging up high. It was so peaceful that most folks would easily miss it, until the second and third lights followed, coming more regularly, getting clearer. In just a few minutes, the flashes picked up, growing stronger and spreading into big glowing patches across the night sky. The desert is used to meteor showers and sky events, but this time the lights didn't streak down or fade out quick. They stayed steady for almost 3 hours. We looked up and could really feel the tension building, like something huge was slowly blocking out parts of the darkness. Videos going around show the lights pulsing bright, with soft edges that looked bent or curved, giving the feeling that something was there behind the familiar sky. No thunder, no rain, no sign of a storm, but the air felt heavier than normal. That strange, unclear feeling left a lot of people standing still, just watching and wondering what their eyes were really seeing. Different opinions popped up fast on social media. Some said it was probably just a meteor shower or a solar energy burst, the kind that can sometimes make rare pulsing lights over the desert. Others pushed back, pointing out the lights lasted way too long, didn't follow any clear path, and didn't match any published astronomy calendar. In the middle of those debates, Matthew 24-29 got brought up as a possible hint, and then the full verse was shared. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. When people put those words next to the feeling of the sky being covered over in Arizona, a lot of them noticed the hard-to-ignore similarity. From another angle, Luke 21:11 adds more to the picture. There will be great signs from heaven, and on the earth there will be famines and pestilences and great earthquakes in various places. The Bible doesn't give a scientific diagram, but it paints a scene where the sky becomes a signal for bigger, deeper changes coming closer. Scientists are staying careful, stressing there's no proof yet of anything supernatural, and they're calling for more data on magnetic fields, plasma, and atmospheric activity. Still, there's a gap between the technical explanations and what regular people actually felt, and reason doesn't fill that space easily. When the last lights finally went out, the Arizona sky went back to its usual quiet, but the sense of something blocking or shielding still lingered. If it was only a natural event, why did it leave such a deep unease? And if it was a warning, what exactly is being prepared behind the dark? That question still hangs there. Has this light finished? Or was it just the first sign of something much bigger about to come back? 7. Strange glowing orbs in the Mexican sky. Reports came pouring in from 3 continents. Round glowing rings shot across the sky over a small village in Mexico, and almost at the same time, people spotted them in Brazil and Nepal. They moved so fast that folks watching could only hold their breath. You could really feel like the whole world was being stretched tight in that one moment. Videos kept showing up one after another, enough to wipe away the usual lines between countries. In far-off rural areas, people looked up and saw these glowing rings glide overhead like living sparks of fire, silent, with no clear path. We watched them suddenly speed up and then vanish into the dark, leaving the sky empty and a heavy quiet behind. It didn't happen just once in one place. It spread in a chain, giving the sense that something was moving on purpose. People quickly compared them to famous meteor showers, especially the strong ones that Earth's sky has reported before. But unlike meteors, these glowing rings didn't blaze along a curved trail. They stayed perfectly round and steady before speeding up in a strange way. The thing that confused so many was easy to see. They appeared at almost exactly the same time in different hemispheres. Joel 2:10 came up as an old warning, and then that haunting Bible verse rang out. The earth quakes before him, the heavens tremble, the sun and moon grow dark, and the stars withdraw their shining. When you put those words next to these glowing rings racing through the night, a lot of folks felt this wasn't just some lone light show. It was a sign of something much deeper, shaking the skies. The mystery grew thicker when people brought up Revelation 8:10 as another warning. It says, "The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water." That picture of a burning star made quite a few think of these fast-moving, glowing rings, as if a message was being sent out across the whole world. Pushback came fast, too. Some said these were just drones or new tech tests. But that idea ran into questions about the speed, the height, and how they showed up at the same time in different countries. We saw arguments going back and forth, science trying to stay careful and hold its ground, while faith saw signs that go beyond normal technology. When the chain of glowing rings finally quieted down, what was left wasn't a final answer. It was the feeling we'd all been put in front of one big warning. If these were fast messengers meant to grab the world's attention, then what's the real purpose? And the question still hangs in the air. Will those glowing rings come back? And where will they lead humanity the next time they appear? 8. Those strange, scary clouds covered the whole sky. The sky over Kansas opened up something hard to put a name to. Thick clouds rolled into weird wave shapes, glowing from the inside like something was moving in there. The light wasn't bright and flashy, but it was enough to send a chill down your spine, because the thicker the clouds got, the clearer that glow showed through. That odd feeling spread fast, like the air was holding onto a secret it wasn't ready to share. The Kansas plains are used to storms and strong winds, But this cloud setup was so unusual, it was tough to explain. Layers of clouds stacked up, rippling like water that's been stirred hard, forming a heavy dome that covered a huge area. We stood under that sky, and suddenly, the familiar look of nature felt strange and far away. When light broke through the gaps in the clouds, the whole scene got even more eerie, like the slow, deep breathing of some giant creature. Videos going around showed the clouds moving non-stop, not really following any clear wind direction, and it left a lot of people stunned. You could feel the uneasiness building, even though the ground stayed quiet. Weather agencies said it might be a rare cloud type tied to strong turbulence in the upper air, mixed with winter weather conditions and some upper-level influence. Still, that explanation left questions hanging, especially about the light coming from inside those thick clouds, something you don't usually see in normal storm systems. That vagueness made the fear harder to shake off. Exodus 19:18 got brought up like an old accusation. And then the Bible words hit hard. The whole Mount Sinai shook violently because the Lord came down in fire. Smoke rose like smoke from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled greatly. When you put those creepy glowing clouds in Kansas next to that passage, the sky stops being just a weather thing. Revelation 11:19 got matched up too, like an even stronger charge. God's temple in heaven was opened, and within his temple, the Ark of his covenant was seen. Then came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, an earthquake, and a severe hailstorm. All those pieces come together into a picture where nature itself stands as a witness to judgment that's starting to form. Some folks say this was just rare weather that hasn't gotten enough attention before. But the way the cloud shapes, the strange light, and that heavy, hard-to-describe feeling lined up made it tough for a lot of people to buy a purely scientific answer. We can see the gap plain as day between the measured data and what people actually felt. As the cloud mass slowly broke up and the light faded, the Kansas plains went back to looking normal, but the aftertaste didn't go away. If this was only some atmospheric disturbance, why did it leave behind the sense of an accusation hanging right over everyone's head? And the question still hangs there. Was that cloud just a passing image, or a sign of something much more serious building up behind the familiar sky? 9. A glowing cross full of mystery in the night sky. That day, the air over the Colorado high country went strangely quiet. Up in the sky above Glenwood Springs, an orange cross appeared, just hanging there against the pale clouds, staying in the same spot for about 10 minutes. No thunder, no wild movement, just a clear, bright shape that made you slow down and catch your breath. When you face a moment like that, have you ever wondered why the sky sometimes chooses to speak by staying silent? Glenwood Springs sits right in the middle of rugged mountains, where folks are used to changeable weather and odd light shows. Still, that cross wasn't like the northern lights or some sunset cutting through clouds. Many people who saw it said the light had real depth, sharp edges, and stayed perfectly still, like it was placed there on purpose. Knowing the area well didn't make the feeling go away that what was showing up was beyond normal rules. While the light was there, the people below went almost completely quiet. It wasn't fear, but a kind of hazy, holy feeling, as if a message was being sent but hadn't quite been spoken yet. Some folks mentioned scientific ideas, like cloud illusions or rare light bending, but those explanations don't really cover why the shape stayed so perfectly balanced and the color so steady the whole time it was visible. In the middle of all that mystery, the Bible comes in like a key that unlocks meaning. Galatians 6:14 says, "But as for me, may I never boast, except in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, by which the world has been crucified to me, and I to the world." These words aren't talking about a light in the sky, but about a symbol that lasts through time, a cross that's not just a shape, but a reminder of the way back to the roots of faith. When you put that event in the bigger picture of signs in the heavens, another verse adds even more weight. Revelation 1-7 reads, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those who pierced him, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn because of him. In this view, the sky isn't just a blank background anymore. It becomes the place where signs are shown, so people have to face their own hearts. So the cross over Glenwood Springs isn't just a pretty or strange moment. It reminds us that in a noisy, busy world, there are still quiet signs calling people to pause, change direction, and remember what's truly important. If the sky spoke in such a gentle, hidden way, the question still hanging there is that cross a sign that salvation is drawing near, or the soft tolling of a bell for a time of reckoning that's coming soon? 10. Terrifying lights in Turkey. That night in Turkey, the sky didn't start quiet. It kicked off with wild, flashing lights jerking around like they were out of control. Bright streaks ripped across the darkness, followed by deep rolling thunder. Even though there was no rain, no storm at all, the ground hadn't started shaking yet, but the air felt thick and hard to breathe. When the sky makes sounds like judgment while the weather stays perfectly calm, what do you even think is really going on? This area sits right on ancient fault lines, where history has recorded some truly terrifying earthquakes. But those lights didn't come with storm clouds, no strong winds, none of the usual signs of a thunderstorm building. People said the sky looked like it was being torn open, then closed up again, over and over for about 10 minutes before everything just stopped suddenly, leaving behind a fear that didn't even have a name yet. The beams of light stretched wide, then snapped narrow so fast your eyes could barely keep up, making everything feel chaotic and unsteady. The thunder didn't boom in a regular rhythm. It came in heavy, pounding bursts, almost like it was rising up from deep underground instead of the clouds. In that moment, the line between normal nature and something way beyond our understanding got really blurry, and the unease spread through every neighborhood. Right in the middle of all that tension, the Bible steps in with words that don't hold back. Revelation 16:18-19 says, "Then came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a great earthquake, such as there had never been since man was on the earth. So great was that earthquake. The great city was split into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell." Those verses aren't just talking about physical destruction. They're about the old order being broken apart to make way for judgment. Another passage makes the feeling even heavier. Ezekiel 38:19 says, "For in my jealousy and in my blazing wrath, I declare, on that day there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel." When you put those words next to the lights and sounds in Turkey, they ring like a confirmation that both earth and sky can become tools for a very serious message. Some people try to explain it away as a rare atmospheric electricity thing, or some solar event affecting things down here. But with no rain, no wind, and that unusual fierce intensity, those ideas just don't carry much weight. What's left isn't a neat explanation. It's the strong feeling that the earth is heading into a time of deep, serious changes. So those terrifying lights over Turkey didn't just end a string of strange events. They left behind a strong warning. If this is only the beginning sign, then whatever's coming next will be far bigger than the fear we're feeling right now. And the question still hanging in the air is, are we ready to face what's coming? 10 strange events have come one after another, like slow, deep drum beats, not loud, but strong enough to shake up how we see things. From skies looking strange, unusual lights, to signs that make people lift their heads and look up, they all fit together into one clear picture, not scattered pieces. When you put them side by side, they form a tight chain, where Bible words no longer just sit on the page, they seem to be stepping out into real life. The Bible warned there would be times when people need to wake up and see the deeper meaning behind what's happening. Matthew 24:33 puts it plainly. In the same way, when you see all these things, you know that the Son of Man is near, right at the door. Those words come like a quiet but serious whisper, not to scare us, but to wake up some real thinking deep inside each of us. Looking back at the whole string of signs, what's striking isn't just one odd thing by itself. It's the feeling that everything is piling up, coming faster and heavier. Luke 21:25-26 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. People will faint from terror, anxious about what is coming on the world." Reading those lines against what's happening now, the matchup makes it hard for anyone to just shrug it off. Facing these signs, what really matters isn't arguing who's right or wrong. It's how each heart answers back. Amos 4:12 warns, "Prepare to meet your God, O Israel." It's a quiet but powerful call, urging us to turn inward, get our faith in order, and put our spiritual life back in the right place. Even in the unease, the Bible still opens a door to hope. John 14:27 says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you." That peace doesn't come because the world stops shaking. It comes when people find a solid place to stand in the middle of it all. That's where faith becomes a safe shelter instead of a heavy load. These strange signs have been told, but the story doesn't seem finished yet. Will they keep coming even stronger? Or is this the last bell before something truly big? That question just hangs there, not to make us panic, but so each of us can face it and answer with our own choice. If these thoughts touch your heart, maybe leave a short prayer below, or just an honest thought as your way of responding to what you've seen. And if you'd like to keep walking with the messages that come next, sharing and following will help make sure nothing gets missed on this journey. May peace be with us and each family in every situation. Amen.
That my administration will focus on ending the absolutely horrific
President Trump is threatening to send federal troops to Minnesota.
Between Ilhan Omar and Don Samuels got some extra heat this week with accusations.
What happens when a country once seen as a model starts turning on itself? In 2026, America keeps getting shaken by things we just can't ignore. Homes raided, old files dug up, hundreds of millions of dollars vanishing from programs meant to help poor folks. Minneapolis turns into the center of it all, with scam after scam, investigation after investigation, and nonstop criticism hitting so fast, nobody gets a chance to catch their breath. In just a short time, 7 news stories come one right after another. The kids' nutrition fund gets gutted. Strange money flows through middleman groups. Familiar faces get questioned about their responsibility and honesty. Everything is clear, specific, and big enough to make you stop and think, do you feel like something's gone way too far? If there's any worry in your heart, leave a prayer in the comments below. Just a simple way to remind ourselves not to look the other way at what's happening. Amen. Now come along with me as we pull back the curtains on the truths God has quietly placed in every one of these shocking events hitting America these past few days. We'll start right with the raid on the mansion of the 46-year-old Somali governor figure kicked off a real political storm. What happened in Minneapolis isn't based on guesses. It's coming straight from clear news reports and official numbers. The Feeding Our Future case was found to have lost about $250 million from the kids' nutrition program. 78 people got charged, and a bunch of bank accounts and properties got frozen for the investigation. When all this info hit the federal records at once, it was obvious this wasn't some small mistake. It was big enough to make the whole system react. Minneapolis is home to around 80,000 Somali Americans, and it used to be seen as a real success story for fitting in. But right there in the city, investigations showed a lot of fake groups turning in phony paperwork, fake invoices, and pulling out subsidy money for a long time. That cash was traced through bank accounts, real estate, and middleman businesses, making a clear chain of transactions. Once the pieces came together, the picture got a lot sharper. From that background, the raid on a mansion owned by a 46-year-old Somali community figure who had some influence became the next big flashpoint. Federal agents showed up early in the morning, blocked off the area, and took away paper files, computers, and storage devices. According to Fox News, The operation was part of looking into financial fraud suspicions and possible ties to groups already under watch, even though the final legal conclusions are still being wrapped up. Pictures of the mansion under control spread fast and got mixed reactions. Some folks said it was a necessary step to protect taxpayers' money. Others worried the heavy news coverage might make the whole community look bad unfairly. The debate went public because the numbers are out there and hard to ignore. That's where the story started going, beyond just one search warrant. The Bible, in 1 Kings chapter 21, verse 19, talks about the fallout from using power to grab someone else's property. This is what the Lord says: "Have you murdered and taken over someone's land?" The story of King Ahab isn't about pointing fingers at anyone today, but it reminds us of a pattern we see too often. When power mixes with personal gain, trouble starts with things that seem hidden or protected. The Minneapolis raid isn't the only one. Earlier, in Shakopee, the business Empire Cuisine and Market got caught taking millions in fake reimbursement claims. Put the two cases side by side, and it's clear how gaps in the welfare programs got exploited in a planned way. This isn't about one person anymore. It's a sign that holes have been there long enough for people to take advantage. 1 Kings 21:23 keeps the strong warning about abusing power. The Lord also says about Jezebel, "Dogs will eat her flesh by the wall of Jezreel." This isn't a judgment on today, but it's a clear reminder. History always leaves a trail for anyone who thinks power can escape consequences. Of course, some people say these investigations have a political slant or get blown out of proportion. Still, data from the U.S. Department of Justice shows dozens of welfare fraud cases getting prosecuted, with solid financial proof and money trails tracked in detail. That points to the problem being in the actions and how things were run, not in any community's background or name. 2 Kings, chapter 9, verse 10, wraps up Jezebel's story with an ending that couldn't be changed. Dogs will eat Jezebel in the field at Jezreel, and no one will bury her. This is the last hint in this opening part. No power structure is strong enough to hide wrongdoing forever once the truth starts coming out. The raid on that mansion is just the starting point of this whole chain of events. If what's been released so far is only the surface, how many more groups and connections are still unnamed behind it? The next part will dig deeper into those layers, where things get a lot more complicated. Drug empire, found inside a mansion. Shocking numbers revealed. The moment they busted open that mansion door, you could tell right away this wasn't some routine search. Right there in front of you, from the floor all the way up to the ceiling, packages were stacked solid. No room to even walk through. Metal drums, suitcases, safes, all sealed up, kept getting pulled out into the light. The numbers they announced on the spot left people stunned. Enough heroin and fentanyl to kill millions, plus billions of dollars in cash hidden all over the house. The scale was way beyond anything you'd expect from regular crime. This happened in Minnesota, home to the biggest Somali community in the country. For years, that area kept coming up in investigations about welfare fraud. From kids' nutrition programs to public housing, aid meant for vulnerable people got exploited on a huge scale. Major reports showed billions of dollars siphoned off, leaving real harm to the very communities that needed help most. That mansion wasn't some isolated case. It was just one piece that finally came into view. As they opened each container, you could see the shock on the agents' faces. The drugs seized were so much, they had to haul them out in multiple loads. The cash was piled so high that counting it took hours. One investigator put it plainly: if that much money hit the black market, it could shake up an entire state's economy. Standing there looking at it all, you can't help but wonder, how could something this big go on for so long without anyone noticing? That scene brings to mind Daniel 5:5 from the Bible. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. In the story, Those fingers didn't show up for decoration. They came as a warning that a power had gone too far and its time was up. As the investigation widened, the picture got clearer. Earlier, there was a real case tied to Evergreen Grocery that made headlines. Over $4.2 million pulled out through fake paperwork, then quickly sent overseas. Put the pieces together, and you see a familiar pattern. Abuse welfare programs, hide behind legal-looking documents, then feed bigger criminal operations. What you're seeing here is just the tip of something that's been underground for years. Daniel 5:27 hits hard as a straight-up judgment. You have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. No long explanation needed. That verse is like a moral audit for people who think power and money can buy anything. Once the news spread on social media, reactions exploded. Lots of folks were furious, demanding full accountability and getting every dirty dollar back. Others stayed careful, worried that blaming the whole group would hurt innocent people in the community. Some questioned why oversight agencies let it go on so long. How do you feel seeing all those mixed reactions? Anger, doubt, or just uneasy? In the middle of the debate, the Bible keeps showing up as a warning. Daniel 5:30 says plainly, "In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain." The fall didn't come from rumors or feelings. It came from a long buildup of actions. Of course, some say the numbers are exaggerated, but U.S. Department of Justice data confirms fraud in welfare programs has reached billions of dollars, with dozens facing criminal charges. This isn't guesswork. It's from official legal records. 2 Timothy 3:2-4 describes people in the last days as selfish, lovers of money, boastful, proud, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Put those words next to what's just been exposed, and the match is hard to ignore. If what came out in that mansion is only the surface, how many more networks are still untouched below? The next part will take us deeper, where each new detail might reveal something even more troubling than what we've already seen, discovering the mystery of the underground tunnel and the smuggling corridor map. Everything slows down when the infrared scanner kicks in. No explosions, no chase scenes, just beams of light cutting through thick layers of dirt beneath the mansion. On the screen, a structure appears so clearly it gives you chills. A big, straight tunnel stretching out like an artificial blood vessel. In that moment, anyone watching gets it. This isn't some makeshift thing. It's the core of a whole system that was planned out long ago. From that first find, the picture quickly gets bigger. Minneapolis, St. Paul, long seen as a key logistics hub in the Midwest, suddenly lands right in the middle of serious questions. Reports show IRS data pointing to a sharp jump in money flowing overseas through shell companies around the port area, and it lines up with years of abuse in welfare programs. The tunnel didn't just show up by chance. It sits exactly where the mansion connects to the cargo transport system. As they keep peeling back the layers of earth, the real size starts to come into view. The tunnel is wide enough for industrial carts to go both ways, reinforced with steel and concrete, complete with ventilation and inside cameras. Reports say each load could leave the mansion and blend into the port traffic in under 5 minutes. The number that shocks people: more than 120 officials and port workers are suspected of taking bribes to look the other way. Seeing that data feels like looking at a full blueprint of crime, not just scattered pieces anymore. This whole situation reminds a lot of folks of Jeremiah 52 inches, the Bible. It says, "Announce it among the nations, raise the signal and proclaim it. Don't hide it. Babylon has been taken. Bel is put to shame. Marduk is terrified." In that old story, the sin wasn't out in the open. It was buried deep inside the power structure, just waiting to be exposed. Looking back through old files, one detail stands out. In the earlier Feeding Our Future case, more than 30 internal complaints were sent in, but never really dealt with properly. Reports say many warnings got delayed or passed around between agencies without any clear resolution. Put those numbers next to this newly discovered tunnel, and the coincidence feels too strong to call random. Jeremiah 51:9 seems to nail the feeling exactly. We tried to heal Babylon, but she could not be healed. When the oversight system gets shut down from the inside, all the surface fixes just buy time before everything falls apart. Word about the tunnel spread fast beyond the investigation. On live stream platforms, streamers and data analysts started weighing in. Some zoomed in on the smuggling corridor map, pointing out how federal routes matched up with big-budget shortfalls. Others dug into the human side, saying the real danger was the collusion. Different views, but they all stuck to public data, not just gut feelings. In the middle of it all, Jeremiah 51:44 sounds like the final key. I will punish Bel in Babylon and make him spew out what he swallowed. That spew out image isn't vague symbolism. It feels like a spot-on description of assets, networks, and secrets being forced into the open. Some skeptics say talking about a tunnel sounds like conspiracy talk. But reports from the Minnesota Legislative Auditor's Office confirm serious gaps in oversight at the port and in welfare programs, which let illegal activity go on for years. That's based on audits and official records, not online rumors. When you step back and see the bigger picture, Matthew 24:12 hits hard. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. The tunnel isn't just a physical thing, it's a clear sign of a society where the law gets bent little by little. If this tunnel ran straight to the port, where goods and money vanish without a trace, the question left is, behind that monster's mouth, how many other routes are still untouched? The next part will take us closer to the end of this system, where things might go way beyond what we've seen so far. The raid on the port uncovered the mouth of the beast. Early in the morning, armored trucks roared into the Minneapolis port. Sirens blared, headlights cut through the dark. Gunshots rang out as agents broke open container locks in just a few minutes. Right then, we all realized this wasn't some small-time crime anymore. It was a head-on fight with something that had quietly swallowed up a whole system for years. The Minneapolis port has long been the main shipping lifeline for the Midwest. Goods move through every day with proper papers and standard checks. But right at this key spot, according to AP reports, smuggled stuff got cleaned up with fake documents, forged signatures, and familiar nods. If you were there watching, one thing hit hard. If this link breaks, the whole chain behind it comes into view. The raid felt like a military operation. Agents split into teams, took control of armed guards, blocked escapes to the river and roads. Inside the sealed containers, the numbers made people's blood run cold. About 220 tons of heroin and 80 tons of fentanyl. That's enough to devastate millions of families across America. We're not talking small-scale smuggling here. This was industrial-level storage. As each container got opened, the full picture came clear. Trains were ready to leave, papers all in order, schedules down to the minute. It showed tight teamwork across levels, from storage yards to security to inspections. Crime doesn't stand alone. It moves in lines, with guides and cover. That scene reminds me of Acts 12:21, 23 inches the Bible. It says, "On the appointed day, Herod, wearing his royal robes, sat on his throne and delivered a public address to the people. They shouted, 'This is the voice of a God, not of a man.' Immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, an angel of the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died." Power that gets praised without checks always ends up collapsing. What happened at the port shows another hard truth. In the earlier Feeding Our Future case, 37 people already pleaded guilty, and DOJ is handling a total of 78 related cases. Those numbers prove this isn't some made-up story for shock value. It's the result of long investigations with real legal files. When you put those cases next to this new warehouse find, the pattern stands out plain as day. Acts 12 isn't just about a king's death. It's a charge against group pride and greed. Here, the Bible isn't vague explanation. It's like a legal indictment, pointing out the repeating rule. When power puts itself above the law, judgment comes on its own. You can feel the same thing looking at how this port ran in the shadows for so long. DOJ records and public indictments confirm the seized amounts, and defendants are real. Getting away with it for years only proves one thing: the control system got shut down from the inside, not because the criminals were too clever. When you line up all the facts, the warning comes through loud and clear. Corruption doesn't start with one container or one train. It begins with small decisions ignored, signatures in the wrong place, people thinking they're above the fallout. The Bible repeats that judgment doesn't surprise. It arrives when things are full. If the port is like the mouth of the beast, swallowing hundreds of tons of drugs without a word, then the next question can't be avoided. Who's behind it, running and protecting this whole machine all this time? The next part will take us closer to a name once praised as a symbol of reform. But will that image hold up when the light shines straight into the center of power? The truth behind the reform governor: high-level betrayal. The shine is gone. The nice slogans are gone. And now it's just cold numbers on the investigation table. The picture of the reform governor who once stood for hope and change now faces a tough reality. $41.7 billion is said to have gone through shell companies over many years, all under a perfect legal cover. Right now, we see that this isn't just about management mistakes anymore. It's about trust being betrayed at the very top. The background to this collapse didn't happen quietly. In Minnesota, Tim Walz used to be talked about as a moderate, forward-thinking face. But according to NYT analysis, delays and indifference to a bunch of warnings let fraud spread from nutrition programs, housing, all the way to Medicaid. As reports piled up, one feeling came through loud and clear: those in power chose to stand still while the system got gutted day by day. Investigation documents show the scariest part is that all the paperwork looked perfectly fine. Contracts were signed the right way. Money flowed through licensed banks. Reports got filed on time. But behind that by-the-book appearance was a network of cover-ups, where decisions got delayed on purpose and checks got blurred. When you look at how it worked, you realize betrayal doesn't need loud or violent acts. It just needs silence at the right moment. That picture makes a lot of folks think of Matthew 26-14-15. The Bible says, "Then one of the 12 disciples, named Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, 'What will you give me if I hand him over to you?' They counted out 30 pieces of silver for him." Betrayal doesn't make noise, but the damage spreads way beyond what anyone first expected. The deeper it goes, the clearer the signs of high-level coordination become. At one point, the DOJ reportedly had trouble getting some key records. Investigation sources say the House Oversight Committee had to step in to check on possible obstruction of the legal process. Here, the issue isn't just one person. It's how power got used to slow down the truth. Matthew 26-48 keeps showing the same nature. The one who would betray him had given them a sign, saying, "The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him." A kiss is supposed to mean trust, but when it's used like that, it becomes the tool that leads to a fall. In today's situation, gestures labeled as reform hid decisions that hurt the whole community. As the news spread, people reacted in different ways. Some criticized hard, saying this is clear proof of how corrupt the leadership class has become, and demanding full accountability. Others felt relieved that long-held suspicions from years back were finally coming to light. At the same time, some folks are skeptical, asking if every accusation has solid proof yet, and whether politics is playing a role in all this. John 13:21 gives another warning. Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." Those words aren't just for an old story. They're like a general charge for times when betrayal shows up right in the middle of the most trusted group. The House Oversight Committee and federal agencies are now going over the money flows, contracts, and specific decisions. Figuring out right from wrong will come from the records and the law, not from old images or built-up reputations. That's exactly what makes the collapse of illusions hurt more. It's based on hard facts, not vague accusations. When you put the whole story together, the warning comes through plain. High-level betrayal doesn't just lose money, it eats away at society's moral foundation. What the Bible warns about the human heart in the last days isn't some far-off idea anymore. It's right there, in every file and every number. But the story doesn't end here. As questions grow about the role of the reform governor, another name is starting to show up in documents and money trails. Is Ilhan Omar someone caught in this mess, or an active link in a system that's been running for years? The next part will uncover corners that, until now, very few have dared to look at straight on. The accusations against Ilhan Omar and her husband's sudden wealth have left a lot of people with questions. A new financial report just came out, and it made folks pause, not just because of the claims, but because the assets grew so fast in such a short time. They went from almost nothing to tens of millions of dollars reported in no time at all. The numbers themselves don't prove anything wrong, but they do make you wonder, where did all that come from? And why did it happen right when her political power was at its peak? From Washington, D.C., this story is getting talked about more in investigative reports. Ilhan Omar, a well-known face in Congress, and her husband Tim Minette are under the spotlight because their family's assets reportedly shot up quickly. From being close to broke, their net worth hit around $30 million in just 1 year, a jump that surprised a lot of people. The political side makes it even more sensitive. Omar has publicly supported programs like the Meals Act to help vulnerable communities. Some conservative media outlets say those kinds of policies might open doors to fraud. Fox News has raised questions about whether her policy positions connect to financial gains, though she and her team deny any wrongdoing. Luke 12:15 comes to mind as an old but timeless reminder. Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Those words aren't aimed at one person. They shine a light on the human drive to pile up more, which can blur moral lines when power and money mix. More numbers keep coming out in the public disclosures. Rose Lake Capital, the company Tim Minette runs, reportedly jumped in value from just $42 to about $25 million. A related winery also showed huge growth. Omar says she didn't get any unfair benefits, but the public records make it hard for people to ignore. The House Oversight Committee is said to be looking at next steps, including possibly calling Minette in. Luke 12:20 fits the moment too. But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself?" The parable of the rich fool isn't about earthly laws. It's about what really matters when everything can be gone in an instant. Some financial experts say this kind of growth, even if shocking, could come from high-risk but legal investments. Legal pros stress the idea of innocent until proven guilty, and that an investigation doesn't mean guilt. On the other side, ethics watchers warn that when public policy and personal gain overlap, conflicts of interest can't be taken lightly. Luke 12:21 sets another standard. This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves but is not rich toward God. Between expert arguments on one hand and spiritual measures on the other, it makes you think about what really guides decisions when power is involved. There are also pushbacks to the doubts. The New York Post and the U.S. Department of Justice are cited as confirming reviews are happening, not just rumors. Still, news reports are careful not to jump to final conclusions. The full truth, at least right now, is still coming together from scattered pieces. In the bigger picture, this isn't just about one family or one party. It mirrors the warnings in the Bible about greed, showing up again and again through history. When wealth becomes the main measure of success, moral boundaries get tested easily. And the big question hangs there at the end. If real links between politics and welfare fraud get proven, how will power in Washington react? With Donald Trump still a wild card in American politics, the next move could be quiet strategy, or a strong pushback that stirs up even more waves. Trump has made some strong warning moves ahead of these back-to-back flare-ups. The scattered pieces from earlier parts are starting to connect on their own, from the benefit packages promoted as humanitarian help to money vanishing without a trace, and then overlapping investigations at both federal and state levels. When the numbers stop standing alone, one natural question comes up. Do you think this is just random, or the result of a loose but systematic chain? Investigation records show the Meals Act program, once praised for supporting vulnerable communities, has become a key link in a roughly $250 million loss case. Just in Minnesota, internal reports mention figures up to $19 billion that can't be clearly traced. When public money gets gutted on this scale, the idea of administrative errors doesn't hold water anymore, and public anger is building up. Tensions are rising as accusations point to many welfare-exploiting networks tied to Somali-origin fraud groups. Prosecutors describe a familiar pattern: legitimate-looking paperwork, but money rerouted through middle organizations. We're seeing a system exploited so badly it's distorted, where public trust becomes raw material for profit. In that atmosphere, Donald Trump's tough statements are making the political air even heavier. According to major news channels, Trump openly threatened to use the Insurrection Act in Minneapolis if the chaos and fraud aren't brought under control. Calls to prosecute or deport Ilhan Omar came out as a strong political signal, pushing things beyond normal policy debates. Legal figures show at least 70 people have been charged in related welfare fraud cases, most with Somali roots. This list isn't about labeling a whole community. It's reflecting the ongoing investigation reality. As more people get charged, the story shifts from individuals to a management structure that let crime slip through for a long time. In all this mess, the Bible shows up not as comfort, but as a sobering warning. 2 Thessalonians 2-3 says, "Don't let anyone deceive you in any way, because that day won't come until the rebellion occurs, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the man doomed to destruction." This passage focuses on organized deception, where wrong is covered up with moral language and power. Then 2 Thessalonians 2-9-10 spells out more about the end-time chaos. The coming of the lawless one will be in accordance with how Satan works. He will use all sorts of displays of power through signs and wonders that serve the lie, and all the ways that wickedness deceives those who are perishing. They perish because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. Reading it against today's situation, a lot of folks see a chilling match between that ancient warning and the current legal facts. Of course, plenty of voices push back, saying this is political exaggeration. Still, hearing demands for hearings from Senator Grassley and the Senate Republican group directly targeting Minnesota's administration responsibility shows this isn't just media arguing. These steps show growing institutional pressure, forcing those involved to face real legal questions. This chain of events isn't only a financial scandal. It reminds us the Bible has warned many times about lawless periods, when lying gets normalized and hearts slowly harden. We're not called to panic, but to stay awake, to tell truth from the shiny cover of power. The ending opens a fork with no answer yet. If this is just the start of a bigger judgment, history will mark it as a warning sign. But if it's still the last chance to turn back to truth and justice, the question hanging there is, where will you stand when everything gets fully exposed? Looking back at everything that's happened, the pieces aren't scattered anymore like they were at first. From one disaster after another, spreading violence, strange things in the sky, to big power scandals, welfare fraud, and high-level betrayal, it's all coming together into one clear picture. This isn't just random single events. It's a steady stream of chaos, exactly like what the Bible warned about over and over for the last days. When people think science, laws, or political power can control everything, reality shows the opposite. Systems that used to be praised as progress have turned into tools for greed and lies. Faces that once stood for hope are now being exposed in the light of truth. We're no longer asking, is this just a coincidence? Now the real question is, why was all this told about so long ago? The Bible doesn't feel like some old story. It feels more like a map that was drawn ahead of time. Matthew 24-42 says it plainly, "So keep watch, because you don't know what day your Lord will come." Those words aren't meant to scare us. They're a reminder to stay awake and alert. As the signs keep coming faster and stronger, being watchful isn't just an option anymore. It's something every soul really needs. Even as the world seems to be sliding quickly toward more chaos, hope hasn't disappeared. The Bible always pairs its warnings with promises. The end times aren't just about everything falling apart. They're also about salvation for anyone who holds on to their faith. We might be getting close to the end of the old way of things, but at the same time, we're standing at the door of grace for anyone willing to turn back to God. Right now, what matters isn't arguing who's right or wrong on the news. It's looking at ourselves. What are you putting your trust in? Money, power, or God's promises? You don't have to answer that right away, but it's worth thinking about quietly as all the outer layers get peeled away. If you feel like it, leave a prayer below, or just an honest thought from your heart. It's not about showing off. It's about reminding each other that we're still searching for real truth and real peace. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of the next messages, because what's happening isn't over yet. Finally, I pray that you and your family stay protected and kept in God's peace in this shaking world. May His light guide every choice and every step ahead. Amen.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
After it started demolishing UNRWA's headquarters there. Video shows bulldozers tearing down.
Her and given it to settlers from abroad. Israeli soldiers couldn't.
Edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell, joined in our studio by the newest member of our staff.
This is a standoff in downtown Jerusalem between Israeli protesters and Israel.
What's Jerusalem dealing with right now, when so many serious things keep happening one right after another in such a short time? Religious leaders are openly warning that faith is being twisted. The Al-Aqsa holy site keeps getting stormed. Settlements are expanding fast and hard. Hundreds of families are being forced out of their homes. Kids are dying in the middle of protests. Society is split over military service. Prices are shooting up, and people are hitting the streets. And right in the middle of it all, art is trying to hold on to whatever bit of humanity is left. These things aren't separate. They're not random. They're piling up on each other, pushing Jerusalem into a level of tension we've never seen before. Don't you think it's strange when all these warning signs show up in the same place at once? The story doesn't end here. What's happening now is just the surface. So before we dig deeper into the really shocking truths, feel free to leave a prayer in the comments below. Just a simple way to show your faith, okay? And to keep you from waiting too long, let's jump right in to the shocking events in Jerusalem these past few days. Christian leaders in Jerusalem warn about Christian Zionism, a deception that's eating away at the foundations of faith. In the early days of 2026, a rare statement came out right from Jerusalem, home to some of the oldest Christian churches in the world. Patriarch Theophilos III of the Greek Orthodox Church, along with representatives from the Roman Catholic and Armenian churches, signed a joint document warning about a growing theological and political trend called Christian Zionism. The statement was made public, stressing that the local churches face the risk of being weakened on the very land where they've existed continuously for nearly 2,000 years. Have you ever wondered why these usually careful leaders felt they had to speak up right now? Jerusalem now has only about 2% of its people as Christians, a sharp drop from the last century because of migration, conflict, and long-term social pressure. In that setting, the traditional churches say they're feeling a stronger and stronger impact from outside religious movements, especially groups that tie Bible beliefs to modern political agendas. According to the joint statement, The issue isn't about supporting a country or a people. It's about using faith as a tool to push worldly power, which pulls the focus away from the true message of the gospel. 2 Thessalonians 2-3-4 warned long ago, "Don't let anyone deceive you in any way. The man of lawlessness will exalt himself above everything called God." From a theological view, the Jerusalem leaders see Christian Zionism as a selective way of reading the